mash up some of this shit.
I'm afraid I can't do that.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Get away from her, you bitch!
Oh, what's in the box?
Greetings and welcome to the Cinema Sandbox. This is our first episode in our 2026 Pride Cinema Spectacular.
Yeah, we are really excited to bring these 4 episodes to you this month. We live in our Pride all year long, but today and the rest of this month, we really want to highlight some of the moments in cinema history that really bring Pride to the forefront and all of the different types of queer stories that are out there.
Yeah, we're doing 4 different films, very different films. Orlando from 1992.
The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert from
1994. Then moving on to horror with A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge from 1985.
But we're gonna begin today with Maurice from 1987.
A film that I have never seen, despite being, I don't know, one of the biggest Merchant Ivory fans around. Love Howard's End, Room of the View, Remains the Day. All those are just amazing films for me. But I had never got around to Maurice, oddly.
And this was really also my first encounter with E.M. Forster. I haven't read any of his books, honestly. And I've learned a lot more about him researching this episode, and his story is just incredible.
The book was published posthumously in 1971, and the reason being is that it came out of an environment that was very repressive at a time when homosexuality was illegal. And E.M. Forster really wanted to not publish the book because he felt it would be incriminating. And, we have examples of high-profile cases like Oscar Wilde and trials of other authors and other artists who touched on gay themes and did face consequences from the authorities and from the judicial system there.
Merchant Ivory is no stranger to adapting E.M. Forster's works, but this one in particular, I think, came up against, some obstacles during the 80s in Britain, whenever, the Thatcher administration was stamping down on things that they deemed were promoting homosexuality.
Children who need to be taught to respect traditional moral values are being taught that they have an inalienable right to be gay. All of those children are being cheated of a sound start in life. Yes, cheated.
That was not only the backdrop of the story itself and the life story of the author, but also the story of the production of this film.
So this was Merchant Ivory's follow-up to A Room with a View, which was a huge hit on the international cinema scene, kind of put Merchant Ivory, who had been doing films already for a long time, but this really put them on the map, like big time international scene. I believe some Oscar nominations, just a big art house cinema hit. And I know that at the time, the production had trouble getting permission from King's College, Cambridge, who owned the rights to E.M. Forster's estate. They didn't feel like Maurice was a worthy topic. They felt it was a secondary work. I'm sure they were aware of some of the, controversy about, the gay themes in the book. So they at first didn't want to allow the rights to do this film. And then I think with some careful persuasion on the part of the film production, they were finally granted the permission to do it.
And their follow-up got a little bit of recognition from the Academy as well. Got an Oscar nom for costume design, but it picked up a lot of wins at the Venice Film Festival for, I think, screenplay and Hugh Grant as well. So.
Oh, nice. Okay. It was not nearly the big hit that A Room with a View is, and that's to be expected, I think, given the subject matter. I think it would, especially at the time, a gay-themed film would have been a risky proposition for a film company to do.
And yeah, the homosexuality is definitely, the overarching theme here, but it touches on so many things. The repression that comes with that, the class struggle, the identity, the cost of conformity, all of these things kind of intertwining in this story and affecting one another.
And I don't want to spoil too much about the ending, but E.M. Forster was insistent that his book have a happy ending. He wanted to show two characters falling in love and staying in love. And, so many films, books, media that comes around touching on gay themes often ends in tragedy or it's about victimization. And so that was really refreshing that E.M. Forster wanted a happy ending. So the film starts off with an introduction to our two characters. Clive, played by Hugh Grant, one of his first roles, really.
Really?
Yeah, one of his early roles. And then our title character, Maurice, played by James Wilby, who was sort of a mainstay of the Merchant Ivory productions. He later went on to play the detestable character in Howard's End, who ends up, killing Leonard Bast. And then we have Rupert Graves, who plays Alec Scudder. Later, we'll talk about him. And he appeared also in A Room with a View. So this was his second film role. And other Merchant Ivory regulars like Simon Callow, and even a little cameo appearance by Helena Bonham Carter.
I do begin to see what you mean.
Billy Whitelaw, who plays Maurice's mother, who I know from The Omen, as the evil nanny in The Omen.
I am here to protect thee.
And then Ben Kingsley, who plays Lasker Jones, who we'll talk about later. James Ivory was insistent that they use a non-British director of photography on this. He was afraid that an English camera person would have been more uncomfortable with the gay themes and shooting some of the more explicit gay, romantic scenes, I guess, and didn't want that energy on the set. So he went with a French cinematographer who he felt would be more worldly and a little more accepting of this. Yeah, I think it worked out because it's a beautifully shot film and it's shot with a lot of sensitivity and a lot of beauty and a lot of, but very differently. It looks very different from A Room with a View. They wanted to go with a cooler palette.
Mm-hmm.
Remember all those greens and blues and whatnot, as opposed to Room with a View, which is very sunny and warm.
This has a pretty strong consensus among critics and audiences from what I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
It has a meta score of 75, and audiences liked it just slightly more with an 8.1. Letterboxd, it has a 3.9 and a 7.6 on IMDb. So
pretty high ratings there, yeah.
Pretty high and pretty consistent across the board there. Judy Stone, she was the SF Chronicles art house critic throughout most of the 80s.
Okay.
She fucking loved this movie, gave it a perfect score. She had a lot of praise for Ivory for his depiction of the way he portrayed pre-war England. Really loved the way that he captured that.
The Edwardian period, as
Yes.
it's known.
And she really praised what she called the platonic passion between two upper-class Englishmen. Not crazy about that phrasing, platonic passion. I don't think it was exactly platonic. That is very like a historian looking back saying, oh, well, they were best friends.
I think maybe they're picking up on that because at the one point in the film, Hugh Grant says that he thought it was appropriate. It was only appropriate for men to show platonic love, and that anything else was inappropriate.
Yeah.
And we'll get into the conflict of that.
Goldilocks 78 on IMDb calls it their #1 Merchant Ivory work.
Wow, okay.
They said they praised it for its excellent acting and its portrayal of the serious stakes. They felt like the story really kind of teed that up well. And I would agree with that. Lawrence 07 on Letterboxd said Clive's ending is genuinely my worst nightmare.
That is the very crown of life, Paul. God's wondrous purpose.
It's actually not a bad little drawing.
And he's done this before.
It's like Picasso.
The story begins at Cambridge, where our characters we kind of see into their Latin classes and
They're very rigid and structured, very disciplinarian too. Like, those severe professors and
I think even by early 20th century standards.
right. And we see right away that there's kind of this coded way of communicating. Risley at one point invites Maurice to this party, which he says, I think there's people there that you would get along with, basically, meaning, it's a gay party.
You're not going, are you?
The thing is never talked about. It's always codified. It's always said. And, What did E.M. Forrester say when he finally lost his virginity in his late 30s?
Yesterday, for the first time in my life, I parted with respectability.
Didn't say I lost my virginity or I got laid. He said I parted with respectability.
Yeah.
That's the English way.
So that's the ecosystem in which their relationship is developing. Even as, their physical affection is, increasing, you can see it's kind of, they're testing each other. A stroke of the head or laying on someone's lap.
This is way before Grindr, where you could put your preferences online and everyone knows going in who you are, what you like.
After they get out of school, as they're, young adults in the world, we have a scene where, we see Risley out on the town. Whoa, that's a word back then? An undercover cop lures him into the alley and gets him arrested and charged.
Get him! Come on!
It's even on the front page of the newspapers.
Well, it would have been a huge scandal because
He was an aspiring politician.
yeah,
And-
he was a man of social standing
Yes.
and class.
Clive and Maurice, as news of this arrest reaches them, they're obviously affected by it. It's serving as an example of why you can't be open and out.
It was devastating, especially to Clive. He's the more conflicted one. For Clive's character, everything is on the line.
Because he's also
He's got money,
going into politics.
he's got
and-
position. He doesn't want to risk any of that. It's not as a big deal for Maurice, though. And when he gets kicked out of college, he was very quick to turn his back on the college.
But he still came from that world of upper class English society and, all the expectations that come with that.
Right.
But he has this relationship with Clive that he's valued all this time. It's survived through all the time jumps that we see in the film. It goes from like 1910 all the way, several years. They're doing the same time jumps as like heated rivalry.
Are there any gay hockey players?
None that have said it publicly.
It was soon after Risley's trial that Clive has come to this realization that he can't continue down
He's
that path.
gonna-
He's too scared.
Settle down with a woman, raise a family,
And the way he presents it to Maurice is just so cold.
Don't be so stupid. Try to understand. We must change.
It's like, it's time for us to grow up.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what's happening, but you're not growing out of it.
So it should be noted that the main cast of this film did not and do not identify as queer. The only actor that we know for sure that was, an outwardly gay actor was Denholm Elliott, who played Dr. Barry in the film, which is a very interesting choice because he's sort of one of the characters trying to talk Maurice out of his, condition, as they called it. Sadly, Denholm Elliott was to later pass away from complications from AIDS. So, there's tragedy there. But we often talk about gay stunt casting in today's world. And I think in 1986 or whenever they, playing a gay character in a major motion picture would have been a death sentence. And we'll get back to that later in our last episode on Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. So while we would like to have casting be authentic, this was a risk, both for Hugh Grant, who was just starting out in his career, and for James Wilby, Rupert Graves as well. All these actors to play gay characters, because it could have been a death sentence to any actor starting out in a career. Just like, oh, we don't want you in our film. You were in a gay film.
Yeah.
So we got to consider that a part of the times and when we look at the casting of this.
For sure.
You want to get married? Is that it? You're in love with some girl.
Something about Clive's pivot that really struck me was how pervasive the forces that led him to that pivot still are today. That's where so many of these like log cabin Republican types kind of find themselves. These people that are sucking each other off at CPAC.
Longtime U.S. Senator Larry Craig was arrested in a Minneapolis airport bathroom for lewd conduct.
They're all closet cases. They're all self-hating. That's so much of what that reminds. He's even going into politics. If his character existed in another time, that's exactly what he would be, a match slap type.
match slap allegedly put his hand on the young man's leg and began aggressively fondling the staffer's genital area.
And to me, the psychology of it seems kind of obvious. I don't know how else to put it. What's the Shakespearean, you protest too strongly, m'lady.
Ted Haggard was living a double life.
He had a relationship with me. We had gay sex.
Republican Congressman Ed Schrock, an opponent of gay rights, leading a secret gay life.
I hope the American people can see through this sham.
You're basically announcing it to the world by being so hateful.
Yeah, that's where that trope of the self-hating homophobe comes from. Not to say that every homophobe out there is a secret closeted gay, but the overlap is heavy.
Mm-hmm.
So as Maurice is just left in shambles, he is going through kind of all these phases. Again, in a boy meets girl story.
Mm-hmm.
If a breakup happens, obviously the person is left in shambles and, is picking up the pieces. But there's a completely different dynamic when it comes to a gay relationship falling apart in this society. This person is not just left with, oh man, I miss this person. They're left with, oh, I have to confront this part of my identity that I'm being led to hate, and I want to eradicate it from myself.
I've been like this ever since I can remember, without knowing why. I'm a disease. I want to be cured.
Maurice knew from the time he was a little kid that wasn't for him. In that opening scene where, he's explaining marriage to him, he's like, oh, that's not for me.
I think I shan't marry.
Yeah.
It's like, of course it is. This is what
very,
you do.
Very self-aware. How old do you think that kid was?
Probably 6 or 7. Yeah.
I was going to say, when did you know?
When I was in pre-K. I didn't even have words for it.
What is that? What age is that?
4 or 5.
Oh, that's really early.
Yeah. I didn't even hear the word gay until 2 or 3 years later.
I think I was around 7 when I have the recollection, because I had a crush on Sam Waterston.
A funny thing happened on the way to Mars.
And it was not a sexual thing. I didn't even know what that was. It was a man crush.
When I was in preschool, we had a Valentine's Day party. And I think either my parents or the teacher, somebody was explaining to me what Valentine's Day was and what a Valentine was. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I want Daniel to be my Valentine. My parents were like, oh, no, not a boy. It has to be a girl. Gotta nip that in the bud. So as Maurice is seeking a cure, as he calls it, one method that he seeks out with that is hypnosis. I guess kind of a Victorian era version of what we know today as conversion therapy.
You're not quite off yet, I think.
Maurice's character enlists the services of Ben Kingsley's character, an earlier
I'm
role.
just now realizing that's Ben Kingsley.
You didn't realize that was Ben Kingsley?
I had no idea until just now.
Who plays Lasker Jones, who is an American hypnotist who specializes, I guess, in these kind of things, reprogramming through hypnosis the homosexual to be attracted to women.
But as expected, it doesn't take. For being a practitioner of such a harmful practice, I wanted to hate this motherfucker. But he ends up being one of the kindest and realest people towards Maurice.
Protective at a certain point, because he realizes that this is not going to work, and then gives him a different set of advice.
I would advise you to live in some country, France, Italy, where homosexuality is no longer criminal.
And Maurice asks, do you think that, Great Britain is ever going to be accepting? And Ben Kingsley's character is basically, nope, you better get out now. And that was an act of kindness.
I hadn't forgotten the past.
It's in this isolation as he's still kind of hanging around Clive's estate. There's this person that's kind of in the periphery who kind of creeps into his life.
And the way they do it in the film, you're aware that he's going to be an important character, but he very slowly, he has one line and then he's gone, and then he has 2 lines and he kind of creeps in.
But people keep saying his name over and over.
Yeah, you don't forget his name.
Scudder.
Scudder.
Scudders. Scudder, is it?
Scudder.
Yeah, Scudder.
He's like a servant, like a grounds person or something like that. Yeah, he's got keys to the boathouse.
As he's in the periphery, he's got this crush that's developing for Maurice. And, we kind of see him looking at him.
Making excuses to chat with him.
Happy birthday, sir.
To Maurice, he's kind of invisible at first, I think, because of the class thing. He just sees right through him, or he's in the way. He's like, why is this person talking to me? Scudder's always watching him through his bedroom window, wherever he's staying at Clive's.
He's tossing and turning in bed like he's like going nuts, like a caged animal, and he gets up and goes out onto that balcony thing. I thought he was going to jump. Like, I can't take this anymore.
It's not far enough to jump.
Yeah, we'd end up with just gravel in his elbows.
But Scudder sees that, and he kind of daringly interprets it as like he's calling out to him. Like,
he climbs up that ladder mighty fast.
Just goes right in.
He says, I know. He can tell already, and that gives Maurice a sense of, to be recognized, to be seen is so important in the gay world, right? Because so often you're invisible, or what you are is invisible. And so to have this groundsman say that to him, like, I see you, was a big deal.
Scudder and Maurice, after the ladder and the window moment, they have this romance that kind of takes off, and it's complicated. This relationship kind of, I think, opens up Maurice's blinders that he's had on because of his class, because of his upbringing. As he's opening himself up to this person, society still isn't bending, and neither is Scudder's economic reality. He, as much as he loves, being in this relationship with Maurice, finds himself needing to make a better life for himself.
He's planning to go to Buenos Aires.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So he's on his way out. The job that he has with Clive's estate is not, a permanent thing. So he's moving on with his life.
Dear sir, let me share with you once before leaving old England.
He leaves a letter for Maurice, but he interpreted it as blackmail.
And as he expressed that interpretation, I'm like, wait, what the fuck? That was blackmail?
Right, because he felt like he was...
So it's clearly a love letter.
Yes, but the way Edwardian communication goes, you're sort of reading between the lines. He's like saying, we had this encounter, and so now I have this over you. If I wanted to tell people, I could, and you would lose your standing and your reputation, blah, blah, blah. And it was just so tragic to me, because here's this beautiful love letter, basically, and then he interprets it as like blackmail because of the circumstances of the times.
Yeah.
He can't see it for what it is. But then it kind of takes another twist, because he meets with Scudder at that museum or whatever they are. And then he starts to talk about money, like,
you're going to pay. Accordingly.
Yeah, you're going to pay.
I know what you're trying to do.
So you think, oh, okay, maybe was it? And so you're kind of left guessing. And
so then Scudder then responds accordingly to that by saying, well, okay, I guess maybe, pay me money.
So we see how complicated things get when you can't have direct communication, right?
Sad.
Yeah. It got very...
Everyone gets their guards back up and feels threatened.
And the purity of what was happening, that they were both mutually attracted, got all muddled because of their circumstance.
But thankfully, that was just a temporary misunderstanding that all became cleared up.
Mm-hmm. Well, he says in the letter to meet him at the boathouse.
And then he realizes, oh man, this wasn't blackmail.
Right.
It was actually a
genuine
love letter.
And so he goes to the boathouse, right?
It essentially seemed like he was going to flaunt his new relationship to his ex on his own grounds. Like, because that's the last scene. He's looking out the window at them.
Yeah.
Like, here's what I gave up.
Right.
And here's what I gave it up for, as he's looking at his wife with contempt.
And that was just a heartbreaking shot, too, of the wife.
Yeah, she understood what that look was.
She saw it, yeah. But then within that same scene, she kind of accepts it, and
I think the house makes it easier. If he didn't have money, it wouldn't.
Oh, no.
Forster wrote this story back in 1913.
Pre-World War One.
Yeah, around the same time that it's set.
So he wrote the book very early, and then it was revised later, I think. Was not published until 1971 after his death. And he sort of, kept it under his mattress, I guess, metaphorically.
Shared it with friends and colleagues, from what I understand.
Right, including other big names in gay literature, like Christopher Isherwood. He was just concerned that, again, the societal pressures and the societal stigma of having a gay novel, it would have had like negative consequences to him. So he just kind of kept it under wraps.
And it was very real consequences. Homosexuality was criminalized in the UK until 1967. That's within many people's living lifetimes.
And then we saw in the scene with Risley how, as you mentioned earlier, how dire those consequences were. He was sentenced to this hard labor camp and a flogging for, what did he say? How many years? 5 years. And that was the judge's lenient judgment on him because he was a man of social standing. So that he got his break was to go to prison for however many years and get a public flogging or whatever. Yeah, thanks for your leniency. It would ruin your life. As somebody who worked in news and covering a lot of LGBT stories about through the LGBT Center and places like that, want to let any young viewers out there know that there are resources, for people who are finding themselves in really challenging situations, maybe with their families or, whatever the situation is, that there are resources out there. So, there is always somebody out there willing to help. So, that's always a good thing to restate.
Yeah.
Let people know that there is help. I did not see this film in the theater, but I remember seeing a film called Longtime Companion. I think I had a little man crush on one of the actors in that film and thought, oh, I want to see this film. I knew it was a gay film and it was about the AIDS crisis. It was about people losing their longtime companions to the epidemic. But I remember going to the art house cinema that we had in Vancouver to see this film and feeling like a criminal. So I deliberately went on like a Wednesday night where it was like a school night and feeling like I didn't want to go on like a busy night and kind of sat in the back kind of thing like that. And, looking back now, like, this is so silly, like, to feel that way. But that's the way I felt. I felt like this was a really transgressive act.
We only had basic cable growing up.
Yeah.
So like, all of the Comedy Central, those channels, but we didn't have the premium HBO Showtime and all that.
None of the nasty adult stuff.
Yeah, but I knew that there was a show called Queer as Folk that was on Showtime during that.
That was the American version.
The American, yeah. American Queer as Folk. And I never did see it. I still to this day have never seen an episode of the show, but I was aware of it. I remember, I guess, trying to see if I could see the episodes of the scrambled channel that you get. I remember going to the next city over and going to Best Buy and buying the soundtrack CD for the show, and hoping that nobody saw me buying it, and listening to it in private. And that was as close as I could get to it. But all of the feelings that you're describing of trying not to get caught and hoping that nobody recognizes what you're like, it's the same thing that we're describing. The scene I really wanted to focus on is the hypnosis scene.
Right.
It's not a huge part of the movie plot-wise, but
She is attractive.
She's not attractive to me.
It's pivotal, though.
It was particularly poignant with me, I think, because it's parallels to the modern day practices of conversion therapy. Not only that, but
let's just mention it right off the bat, which through all medical associations has been widely debunked as complete BS.
Yeah, it should go without saying, but it's bullshit.
It's quackery.
Yes.
You should not resist me. You're resisting me. Damn it, I'm not. You're less suggestible than you were.
Not only the practice itself, but also all of the, as we've been talking about this whole time, all of the societal pressures that lead somebody to pursue such a practice.
I don't think Maurice would have sought this out if not for the pressures he was under.
Yeah.
You know, that was his natural inclination, and he was fine with it, and he knew what he was attracted to, and he knew what he wanted. But he saw Clive's character making these choices, and it was so easy for him. And that's why he sought out the services of Lasker Jones, this hypnotist.
Yeah.
And that really spoke to you.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I, like Maurice, was brought up in a society that really looked down on this. Completely different time, completely different place. Was raised in rural West Texas, extremely religious upbringing. I would even go as far as calling it a cult. Church of Christ is what it's called.
Okay.
They came out in the 19th century. They came to be out of the American Protestant movement. They took a step back to the New Testament texts and really wanted to interpret those literally. And that's where, you know, it begins to be kind of culty. Not so much to the degree where we have like a charismatic leader. That's one of the defining characteristics of a cult. But that's really the only thing it lacked. It had all of the suppressive elements. And I knew since pre-K what I was. Before I even had the words with my religious upbringing, I knew that it was considered to be wrong. My dad's favorite slur was queers when talking about gay people. I think my mom liked faggots or fags, faggy, any kind of derivative of that word. I grew up during the AIDS crisis. I remember my dad saying things like, you know, queers just want to bleed on you and give you their disease, and just instilling that kind of fear in me. All the time, I knew that that's what I was. And so that just made it scary. So as I became a teenager, I was also growing up in a time where I was seeing on TV, MTV, VH1, movies and everything, things were changing.
I came out to my parents. I was like, well, you know, I'm gay. And the minute I told them, it was like I was alive.
Even, I think Massachusetts was one of the first states to legalize same-sex marriage. I could see through, you know, those windows that the world was changing.
When straight people, gay people, black people, white people can come together and celebrate a step towards equality, that is what America's about.
That view of kind of how some parts of the rest of the world was evolving on this kind of gave me a sense of wanting to actually come out. And I slowly, in my teenage years, started to, you know, some of my close friends. Eventually, word got back to my family and made its way to my mom. And one day she picked me up from school and just angrily asked me if I'm gay. I remember her telling me, you know, you're going to hell. Gave me a booklet at one point that said something about, you know, how gay men were more likely to, and these were all true statistics, but more likely to die from, you know, drug overdose and things like that. But it was attributed to being gay, not to the societal pressures.
I fortunately did not have parents who were involved or seemed to really care about my sexuality at all. Like they kind of didn't really know what I was doing. The paranoia for me was the AIDS crisis. At a time where I was becoming a sexualized being, you know, sexually aware, was the height of the AIDS crisis. So all of a sudden the messaging was, if you have sex, you're going to die.
Yeah.
And that's not the message you want when you're 17 and horny. I was just terrified.
Yeah.
Of anything sexual was just going to kill me. And so this sense of, there was no sense of freedom and like experimentation or anything like that. It was just really scary. So that was enough without having also my parents on top of that telling me I'm going to hell or whatever.
Yeah, I genuinely believed that I was going to go to hell if I didn't change my ways. When my mom was learning more about homosexuality, one of the things she learned about was this organization called Exodus International. It was at its time the biggest, I guess, organization of ex-gay ministry. And it gave her this, and me as well, this sense of hope that I could overcome these homosexual urges, that they were something that could be overcome. And I agreed to undergo this therapy. And I use really big air quotes when saying therapy, but
abuse. Let's call it what it is. It's abuse.
It was. I didn't go to a camp. I attended these one-on-one counseling sessions with this person named Mike. Somebody that my mom found through either a family or a friend of a friend. He was involved with one of the churches.
And most of these counselors are themselves reformed.
Ex-gay, as they call themselves.
Quote-unquote reformed or ex-gay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had no idea at the time, but Mike is actually a really big figure within that Exodus International organization.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the people that founded this organization eventually just came to terms with their truth. They came out and said, I'm gay. I always have been gay. This doesn't work. This is a sham. We're scamming people. We're hurting people. We're harming people. We're killing people. We have to stop this.
But as long as your message is that we are sinners by loving the same gender, that is wrong. You are continuing to do harm to my gay brothers and my lesbian sisters, and it's not acceptable. It needs to stop. That needs to stop.
My mom would drive me out there and we would debrief afterwards, and I would assure her that, yeah, it's working.
Was there a cognitive dissonance in your mind though? Like, did you truly think it was working? Did you truly feel good about it? Or were you always burying something that you felt was wrong?
Both.
Yeah.
Very much both.
Mm-hmm.
I genuinely wanted it to work so much, so badly, that I really thought that it was.
Mm-hmm. Which is very similar to what happens in the film, because he was trying really hard.
He wanted it genuinely.
Yeah.
I also, at the same time, as you're describing, knew that it wasn't. And I would tell my mom that it worked, and I describe it as going all the way back into the closet.
Mm-hmm.
After having come out briefly. I went off to a Christian university and continued seeking these kind of therapies. And this time it wasn't the one-on-one sessions, it was group sessions. I would, that were led by an ex-gay professor who had this group where, you know, other students who were struggling with these desires would sit and talk about them. And by that point, it was really starting to wear off, but it was no less painful. You know, I was still in conflict with my faith at that time. And I was lucky, is what I'm really trying to say.
Well, what did it take?
I was extremely lucky because people don't make it out of this. They don't.
Yeah.
People kill themselves over this.
Mm-hmm.
My story outwardly seems so harmless compared to what others have experienced, but that internal, the therapy itself was about denying these urges and denying all of the things that may define those urges, whether it's outward expression or it was even silly things like they would discourage you from listening to female artists or female literature or, you know, female friends. You needed to surround yourself with masculine things and present yourself in a masculine way. It's unnatural. It's hard for me to talk about because it doesn't make any goddamn sense. It gave me this ability to pass.
Yeah.
And it instilled that in me in such a strong way that whenever I grew up, it left me wondering how much of that shaped who I became. How much of how I present myself today is me still trying to pass. And how much of myself have I denied? And how much of that is, I don't know the answer to that. When it comes to conversion therapy, there have been over 20 states in the US that have implemented bans on the practice for minors, for kids like me when I was a kid who would consent to the practice. And consent is a really strong word there. Whether they were raised in a cult or raised by families who are pressuring them into this.
Yeah. What is
the state recognizes that these kids are in no place to undergo a practice this harmful. And they say that's not allowed. A couple of years ago, the Supreme Court agreed to take on a case that might challenge that. And this year, they finally made that ruling, an 8-1 decision that Colorado was not allowed to have a law like that in place. Now, it doesn't completely strike down all of these bans, but it puts them in a much more legally precarious situation, including California's. It's now kicked down to the lower courts where they might have to meet a stricter legal standard in order to still apply that restriction.
And this is just part of an all-around larger assault on the LGBTQ community, whether it's funding being cut for programs that helped queer youth, suicide hotlines. This is an all-out
small brick in the dam of keeping that torrent of hate away from the most vulnerable people. And
having an administration that outwardly supports this and outwardly pursues these policies just emboldens the population.
And we're gonna see more of this make its way to the court, especially as it maintains its conservative makeup. The conservatives really like to point to the fact that the Supreme Court ruled on same-sex marriage in 2015, and that's the end of the story. Progress has been achieved. I don't know what you people are crying about. You have marriage. What else do you want? But that's not one that is going to be challenged next. Stuff like this. I mean, they're always attacking it, whether it's the HIV funding.
And that's part of why we're doing this series, because, you know, Pride is many different things to many different people. For some people, it's just a big party time, and that's fine. You know, have fun. Really, we need to sit back and say, have things really changed?
I just know that if a law like this was in place back in 2004 in Texas, I wouldn't have been put through this.
Right. And you're still paying the bill for that.
Yeah. If we're going to continue to look at conversion therapy and it being told in stories and film, it does keep coming back up. There was the 2018 film Boy Erased.
I think about men. I don't know why. And I'm so sorry.
Never saw that one, yeah.
I didn't either. It was, I think, based on a book from a guy, I think he's around my age, actually. And he has a very similar story. Religious upbringing, went through conversion therapy. And he went on to, of course, write this book. He's a really strong advocate for this cause now. And I really want to check out that film next. I think a lot of people remember But I'm a Cheerleader.
Honey, we think you're a lesbian.
I myself was once a gay.
It is a comedy.
Yeah.
About something that's very serious. And
it just underlines that it doesn't fucking work. It's laughable how silly the idea is.
Yeah, and that's what the point of the film is, to underline the absurdity of all of this.
I mean, ask a straight person when they decided to be straight and if they could be converted from...
Right.
It doesn't go the other way, but that's not the way they view the world. The movie Saved, it was a fun one. It actually is from around the time that I was going through this. Weirdly enough, I watched this movie while I was going through conversion therapy.
Oh, interesting.
I am filled with Christ's love.
It's not even about that. That's just kind of a subplot. The main character's boyfriend is going through it kind of off camera. It's a story that's told all sorts of different ways. Funny, dramatic, everything in between. It's real and it's ridiculous. But I'm happy to see stories like this because it feels good to be seen.
So this is the part of our program where we like to look at some other films, some things that are connected or offshoots or companion pieces.
I wanted to talk about Moonlight. If you've watched any of our episodes, you probably may have noticed there's a little bit of Moonlight animation at the beginning. It's because that's a really important film to me. I saw it back in 2016. I was, at the time, just trying to watch all the Oscar nominees.
Yeah.
But holy shit, when I saw that, I was like, this is the best one of the bunch. It's one of the best movies I've ever seen.
But didn't La La Land win Best Picture?
For a second, it did.
La La Land.
There's a mistake. Moonlight, you guys won Best Picture.
Oh, it's mine. I'm sorry.
What was it that struck you? But what did you?
The first thing that struck me was just how perfect of a 3-act structure the film is. It's even apparent in the poster itself. You can kind of see that it's this person's life story kind of told in 3 pieces. Chiron, he actually goes by 3 different names in each act.
What you looking at me like that for? What, man? Come on, you just drove down here? Yeah.
This character, all 3 acts, is evolving over time, and he is just facing every obstacle imaginable. Growing up in the poor side of Miami, he has a drug-addicted mother, is also gay on top of everything else, and being bullied in school, and grows up to be this obviously very repressed young man who, by the end of the film, does find a happy ending. I don't want to give too much away, but it's absolutely beautiful and heartbreaking, and just a perfect movie.
Good pick. I wanted to talk about Happy Together. Kar-wai. We got this beautiful box set from Criterion. We love Criterion, right? In 1997, this was done the same year that Hong Kong was repatriated from its long
was that year, yeah.
colonial rule under the British. So there was a lot of kind of anxiety about this period of time, and a lot of anxiety about identity. And so this film is about a gay couple who has left Hong Kong and has gone to Buenos Aires, same place that Scudder was heading for. They have a tumultuous relationship, passionate encounters, then breakups, then jealousies, and getting back together. And then, and it's just set against this beautifully rendered background of Buenos Aires, photographed by Christopher Doyle. One of the reasons I chose it is because gay is already marginalized. Gay and Asian is doubly marginalized. Where do you ever see a gay Asian couple in a film? We have examples, yes, but this is not a normal thing. It's still super rare. Definitely highly recommend, as I would recommend all of Wong Kar-wai's films. Just, you won't be disappointed with any of those.
Wong Kar-wai, Merchant Ivory, Barry Jenkins. Got some really good stuff here.
Yep. So let's take a look at our sort of final 4-dimensional rating of this film. Jordan, you want to start off? We have story, emotional impact, screencraft, and rewatchability. Let's start off with story. What do you give it out of 5?
For a story, I give it a 3.5. I think the context, the heartbreak, the stakes, all of that conveyed perfectly. Emotion, I give it a 3.
Okay.
I think all of the real life struggles were very close to home.
And screencraft, this is talking about how the level of craftsmanship put into the film.
This is only my second Merchant Ivory, I think, experience. But they're masters. And I give it a 4.5 between the directing, the acting, the cinematography, all of it.
And then replayability.
Replayability, yeah, I think it would be something really nice to have on. It's not too traumatic, so I give it a 3.5 for replayability.
Okay. On the story, I give it a 3. I think it's solid, and there's a lot of twists and turns that I liked in the story. For emotional impact, I'm giving it a little bit more than you, a 4, because I felt like some of those things really hit close to home, as you said. But it was done in a way that, it wasn't sensationalized. I think it was done in a pretty honest and low-key way that I could buy.
Low-key is a good word for this film.
Yeah. Craft, I'm giving it a 3. I love the photography. I love the score. The costumes are amazing. But I would only give it a 3 because in the larger context of the Merchant Ivory oeuvre, Remains of the Day and Howard's End are just like...
blow it out of the water.
And then replayability, I've given it a 3. I would watch it definitely again.
As we explained earlier, this is a part of our Pride series for 2026, so please check out the other episodes as well. It's important for us all year round, but this month especially, we really want to put the spotlight on these stories.
And from us here at the Cinema Sandbox, happy Pride. I'm Christopher G.
I'm Jordan Sherwood. Thank you so much for joining us.
And we'll see you next time.
You